Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Every time you put a question in your voice when you say always, it's like, is he podcast cheating on me? Is he? Do I need to go chase that Kevin Noon down the street with a rolling pin? What is you get out of here? Look at me. I'm Andy Cap's wife. All right, great. Don't call me pet. We're not taking your Andy Cap thing any further than this. And I'm kind of disgusted that you brought it up.
Tom, I thought yesterday was going to be the best show of all time.
And here we are. Boom, new high score.
Anytime you can drop something as timely as an Andy Cap reference, you have to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's all kids are talking about. You see him constantly everywhere you go. King of all media, the Andy Cap. That's what I say. Although the one thing Andy Cap did have nailed, which I really did not appreciate at the time when I was reading it, when it was popular or popular adjacent 30 years ago. Napping on the couch, facing the back of the couch, that Andy Cap was onto something.
Absolutely. I also think that was just easier to draw.
Mm-hmm.
Then anytime you can draw a head with no face, that's easier to do. Tom, any word on Funky Winkerbean?
I have no opinions on Funky Winkerbean whatsoever. I feel like that was not one of the comic strip that was included in my local newspaper when I was growing up. So I have no real Funky Winkerbean takes. Family Circus, man, I can tell you about Billy and his little dotted lines all around the neighborhood. But yeah, Funky Winkerbean, I don't really recall.
For better or for worse?
Yes, that one was in there, and I absolutely cannot remember which one. Was that Dagwood? No, Dagwood Bumstead was Dagwood, right? So
no, that was Blondie.
Blondie, yes. Well, all I remember is the sandwiches. Speaking of people who are ahead of their time, Dagwood and his sandwiches. Mm-hmm.
There you go. I was going to start talking about Kathy, but we don't have time to go 30 minutes on Kathy time. We need to get this show started. And it is the last of our listener episodes for Buckeye Weekly. I want to thank, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Tom, for all of the questions this week. We could not have done it without everybody who submitted something, sent something in, responded to our cries for help. You guys stepped up so that we wouldn't have to, and we thank you.
First one from @Carino_Jr. Is Master Teague going to play in the Rose Bowl because he didn't play against Michigan?
Tom,
I assume as of the time that we are recording this, I have no reason to suspect that Master Teague is not playing in the Rose Bowl. He has not, as of the time we're recording this, announced that he's transferring. He is not, as of the time we're recording this, announced that he's opting out. I'm not aware at this time of an injury that he has, but we have seen guys, miss games just unexpectedly here and there for whatever reason this year, in a way that's like weird enough that we have had people asking Ryan Day about it in recent weeks. Like, what's the deal with all of this year? So my assumption is he's going to play in the Rose Bowl. How many carries does he get? That I don't know. That may depend a little bit on how the game goes. If Ohio State's really able to run the ball, if Ohio State's up by a bunch, I'm sure they would love to get Master Teague a touchdown in the Rose Bowl, because Master Teague is, every time Master Teague touches the ball, Ohio State fans scream his name, and obviously a very beloved person on the team, and someone who I think they would like to have, if you could get him a touchdown in the Rose Bowl, that would be a pretty cool way for, a pretty cool highlight in his Ohio State career. So, but how confident am I that he's going to get 5 or more carries in the Rose Bowl? I don't know. I mean, I think I would expect him to be ready to play. I would expect, based on everything I'm aware of as the time I'm saying this sentence, but I don't know. There's a lot of off the field stuff that, like, is he hurt? Is he not hurt? What's the game situation? I don't think he's the first running back. I don't think he's probably the second running back. So do they get to the point where they are giving the third running back 8 to 10 carries? If they are, then yes, sure, he will play in the Rose Bowl and get 8 to 10 carries.
It has been a difficult year trying to predict which running backs are going to play and which aren't, because it's been up and down all year. And yeah, I expect Master Teague to play, but I have expected other guys to play when they don't. And a lot of times it's Like you're waiting to see who is out. Let's see the availability report, because this has been, I know we came off of a COVID year. This has been an odd year in terms of availability week to week as well. And I'd say it's the oddest year aside from last year, where it's, you just don't know week to week, and you don't hear anything about any injuries, or you don't hear anything about any illnesses, but yet the name is there. And you're like, well, Ryan Day's running a pretty tight ship, and there's not always a ton of information coming out right now. And with injuries, with illness, it's been like I said, it's been up and down. So I do expect him to play, but if he doesn't, I mean, I'm no longer shocked by who plays and who doesn't. Now, if CJ Stroud doesn't play, that surprises me. But like, if you've already missed some time, it won't shock me if you miss more. But I think everybody expects him to play at this point, because there's been he's not been any of the names we were hearing like that are opting out. He's not been one of them. So I expect him to play.
Yes, I think that's a safe-ish assumption, as safe as anything. I mean, you said, you don't know until the availability report comes out. Half the time the availability report comes out, and then someone mysteriously doesn't play after the availability report comes out. So everything's been a little more shrug emoji than a typical season. But yes, that's been a couple of years in a row in different ways, hasn't it? Next one from Arnie Pie in the Sky. Ohio State isn't going to get bullied 2 games in a row, are they?
Tony? Don't think they are, Tom. I'm saying that in a question. Like I'm declaratively and definitively saying I don't think they will. Now, does that mean they won't? No, because I said think. I don't think. But I do know that they have been told about how soft they are. This is not something that they has gone over their heads or under their radar. They've heard it. I'm sure the coaching staff has made sure that they've heard it. That's not how anybody wants to go out. Your ego gets bruised, your pride and all of that, and your toughness gets exposed. Everything about all of the work that you put into the season gets called into question. And now you have an opportunity to shut some of those people up. You're not going to shut all of them up, because many of them are from the Michigan side of things, and there's only one thing that will shut them up, and it's not the Rose Bowl. So this is an opportunity to shut some people up and to be the bullies. But this is a tough Utah running game, tough offense, and so you're actually going to have to do it. You can't just think, well, we're Ohio State and they're Utah, and we'll be okay. Like, you have to prepare for a fight. You have to be prepared to get punched. What happens when I get punched? That's what I got to think about, and how am I going to react?
I can't wait till I see you in person, and we'll find out together.
Just stop bullying me, Tom, I think is the point of this question.
Yeah, and I had Josh Furlong from KSL.com on the Morning Scoop a few days ago, and that was one of the things I asked him about. Was, I mean, you look at them playing Oregon, and they just beat the brakes off of Oregon twice, and Oregon kind of did that to Ohio State. Oregon kind of pushed Ohio State around a little bit and didn't let Ohio State run the ball, and was able to run the ball pretty well against Ohio State. And then Utah, bullied the bully and did it real thoroughly and real convincingly twice. And, he said that is like one of the hallmarks of a Kyle Whittingham team. They are not the most talented teams in the nation. They are not the teams with the fastest players. They are not the teams with the biggest players, but man, they're going to whoop your butt in the trenches on both sides of the ball. That is just what they do. They are, you think of them as a little bit like Wisconsin, where it's like, even if you beat them, you're going to come out sore. You're going to come out worn down, because even if you beat them, it's not a lot of fun to play them. This is a game where I feel like we're going to learn a lot about Ohio State. Everyone keeps saying this is a meaningless game. Like, I feel like you're going to learn a lot about Ohio State, because we have heard that, practices have been very physical, and this has been they are really, really making a point to drive home to these guys. Like, you have to be tougher, or you cannot let that happen again. If that happens again, that's going to tell me one thing. If these same guys who got whipped in the trenches on both sides of the ball against Michigan come out and do it against Utah, that means something. This is not Rutgers. This is not Maryland, where they can just physically assert their will. These are going to be guys who are big, strong, and are going to try and make your life real miserable. So if they're able to do that, and they're able to move the ball on the ground, can they run the ball against this team? Can they stop the Utah running game? That's going to be real interesting to me, because I think you're going to see some schematic changes for this game. And we're going to get into a question about that in just a minute. But, I think you're going to see some schematic changes. So some of it may be schematic, but there's also just like, can they move Utah off the line? If they can, that's really going to tell me something. But there's, there again, I will do everything with the same question in my voice that Tony does. Can Ohio State not get bullied 2 games in a row? That's why they play the games. I guess we'll find out together on January 1st in Pasadena.
Boo.
From @Columbian_U_S_A. I had seen somewhere, sorry, I can't remember what board I saw it on, heard staff made phone calls with Knowles, Jim Knowles, the new defensive coordinator, and recruits. Have y'all heard how the vibe is with players and recruits and their thoughts on Knowles coming on board? I know Jack Sawyer was asked about that kind of in mid-December. Said he's started watching a little bit of Oklahoma State film, kind of admitted like, I've kind of taken a peek at some Oklahoma State film, and just he described the defense as aggressive. Anytime a defensive player says something is aggressive, that means they like it. It does not mean they don't want to be passive. They want to be going and getting the ball. I mean, he's someone who I might benefit more from Jim Knowles, as we discussed on a show earlier this week, might benefit more from Jim Knowles than just about anyone else on the team, in that Leo role. I think you have to be excited. You look at his results. You look at the results that Jim Knowles got from players that are not Ohio State caliber players in terms of recruiting rankings. You look at the results he got from them versus the results that Ohio State got from Ohio State caliber players. And it's hard not to be excited. And I'm sure that there's a little trepidation anytime there's a new boss coming into town. There's, you're going to be a little nervous and a little uncertain probably, but I think there's a lot to be excited about. And if I was a player on the Ohio State defense, I'd probably be pretty excited about it, because I don't think that they are necessarily all that thrilled to sign up for another year just like this one. So you should be excited for something different.
Yeah, it's to the point where change needs to happen, and any change is good change. And every time a coach comes in, there's all this excitement. Things are much better. Things are going to be this. They're going to do that. It's like student council president campaign. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And we're going to get this passed, and no tests on Fridays. But here you're talking about a guy who is an aggressive guy and can pitch that to players. And it's much different than saying, all right, guys, this is what we're going to do. The back 7, we all just drop into zones and we wait for stuff to come to us. And then we tackle. It's like, but I would like to, can I do something else? I would like to make blitz. Whoa. We don't say the B word around here. We drop into zones.
Is that the B word?
So we are a passive defense. We bend and bend and bend until we can't bend anymore. And then maybe I will send a 5th rusher. We do not call him a blitzer. He is just a 5th rusher. But no, if you're a recruit and the coach is telling you, yeah, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go run after the quarterback. And this could be a safety. This could be a linebacker. This could be a defensive lineman. You're like, oh, that sounds like fun. I mean, I get to go make plays. I get to go after the football. Like, yeah, that's what I want you to do. Well, that's what I want everybody to do. And so you're like, but how do you defend the pass? Don't worry about that. I'm going to use you in an aggressive fashion. And then you as a recruit or a player are like, I'm in. How can I possibly say no to this when I'm just going to be, I'll be blitzing 17 times a game. Now they won't, and that's not what they're not being told they will, but you focus on the aggression, and that's a good way to pitch to football players. It's like if you're recruiting Seth Curry out of high school and you're saying, we're going to just shoot a bunch of threes. Oh, or Steph Curry, even either Curry brother. And you tell them what they want to hear as it relates to what you're going to do. And since we don't really have anything on film yet in terms of what Jim Knowles is going to do at Ohio State, he can say a lot of things because there's nobody to disprove it yet. And it's like, well, you said that about Jack Sawyer last year and we never saw it. Like, that hasn't happened yet. And I know I'm kind of making Jim Knowles out to be some sort of a liar, it sounds like. And I don't mean that. But I'm just saying right now he can promise a lot of things. He's going to say a lot of things that recruits are going to like and the players are going to like, and that's a good thing. But I also think, Tom, he's very intrigued by everything he's seeing. So there's no reason for him to be pessimistic or not promising the moon at this point, because you go from, and it's going to be really difficult not to offend him whenever we talk to him about. So you go from recruiting guys that you get at Oklahoma State to recruiting guys you can get at Ohio State, because it's like, I know you've had children before, but now you're going to have real people children. And that's probably going to be offensive to him. But you understand what I'm saying.
I like the fact that this show has so far brought together the themes of you being bullied, Jim Knowles being very aggressive, and then you insulting Jim Knowles. Like, he's going to send an overload blitz from your blind side at the very first press conference next spring. And man, I can't wait to just watch you, just your helmet fly one direction, your laptop go another direction. Like, and yes, Tony wears a helmet to press conferences.
Yes,
he's off camera, but yeah. It's kind of this old trope that, every defensive coordinator comes in, preaching this aggressive attacking mentality. Like, no one comes in and goes, we're going to be super passive. Like, chill defense. That's what I just sit back, just real zen, let it happen, man. Just let it happen. Like, that, no one ever comes in saying that, but you can actually then look at the film and go, oh, like, he really is aggressive. He really is creative. He really does do different stuff and put guys in a position to succeed. So I think there's more reason to believe it in this case than in a lot of them. Ohio State has had a number of defensive coordinators in the past who talk about the importance of, job number one is don't give up big plays. I'll be interested to see whether that's something that Jim Knowles says or not. Because, I'm talking to Ross Fulton. He's talked about, he plays some cover zero where it's just like, we're not going to have a safety in the back of the defense. We're going to get to the quarterback fast enough to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands before, the guys can get to that safety level of the defense. Cover those guys in man, bring pressure, get the ball out of the quarterback's hands, and just get the guy to the ground after that. So it is going to be very interesting to see what this defense looks like next year. Frankly, it's going to be very interesting to see what this defense looks like at the Rose Bowl, because the official party line is that Jim Knowles is just, he may be in the building for a day or two just to figure out, where the men's room is, and, here's his office, and, oh, hey, get you in the biometric sensor. Okay, yeah, that's it. And I get the sense that maybe we'll see a little more Jim Knowles influence in the Rose Bowl than is being let on publicly, which I am real interested to see. And then even more interested to talk to Ross Fulton after the game about what we saw and, how different that means and what that might mean for as just a little sneak peek for 2022.
What I'm looking forward to, Tom, is just the 2 to 3 months of speculation about it that we get to do on a daily basis.
Remember when we used to get questions on the linebackers and we did like linebacker shows for like 4 months in a row? Like, that's going to be Jim Knowles shows. It's going to, know what? I'm excited. I can't wait. Because again, it's in the same way that he has not been proven to be a liar in January or February. We're not wrong. We are never wrong in February. That famously, we are never wrong in February because we haven't been proven wrong yet. Are we wrong after that? Are we wrong after that? Listen, March is a long time away. Let's talk January. Let's talk February. That's our wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. Next one, as you were talking before, I looked up one of our next questioners at JNeese57. Former Mets pitcher John Neese is from Ohio. I was like, oh, is this John Neese? It is not, in fact, John Neese. Could be a John Neese relative. I went all the way through his follows on Twitter. He does not follow any Mets-related accounts, so probably like not. Bitterly disappointing to me, but that's okay. So from at JNeese57, who is on the coaching staff on January 3rd? From Joshua Eric, a related question. I would like to hear you all speculate wildly as to which coach will no longer be on staff next year. Tony, fortunately, it's your turn to go first. Go ahead, bud.
Well, I'll address the first one. I expect Ryan Day to be on the coaching staff. I expect Tony Alford to be on the coaching staff. I expect Brian Hartline, Kevin Wilson to be on the coaching staff. I expect Jim Knowles to be on the coaching staff. Beyond that, really, like, would I be shocked if Greg Studrawa isn't? No. Would I be shocked if, at this point, anything could happen on the defensive side of the ball, and I wouldn't be shocked. It sounds like, from what we're hearing, Al Washington is back. Mm-hmm. Anything outside of that, I think, is completely up in the air. Does Kerry Combs want to come back after being, quote unquote, demoted, having some duties taken away from him? Somebody has to go, obviously. And I think you have to allow Jim Knowles to have his input in that as well, since it is now his defense. And are these guys comfortable running this defense? Do they understand it? Can they do what he wants them to do? Can they teach what he wants them to teach? And so that leads to other questions like, do do those coaches want to do that? Do they want to teach these things? Would they rather does Larry Johnson want to retire? Does he, rather than starting a new thing? So I think it's hard to say. Like we've gone over and said 2.5, I think, changes is what the over under is. I'm probably at 2, including Knowles for somebody and then another. That's probably where I am right now. And while I don't like to speculate wildly, Tom, I know you do.
And again, there's a little bit of up in the air, and you hear some conflicting information at times. I get the sense as the month has gone along, I've gotten the sense that the number in my head is kind of slowly creeping up in terms of number of potential changes for the staff, and that's not a guarantee that that's what happens, because I don't think those conversations have all necessarily been had yet. But you sort of get the sense that Ryan Day is considering bigger, more sweeping changes, because he's had a couple of years where, I mean, we'll just go through the names you talked about there. The offensive line recruiting has not been very good for a couple of years. That's something that is, at some point it becomes a pattern. At some point, that's something that maybe that inspires a change. A couple of years in a row, he's had one of, if not the best offenses in the country, and they haven't gotten to the national championship game, or they haven't gotten to the college football playoff, or they've lost the national championship game in a non-competitive manner because of the defense. And at some point, like, you can't stop. You do not get an infinite number of football seasons. You can't keep throwing football seasons away because of crappy defense. And I think that in the same way that Ohio State fans may be kind of at a breaking point with the defense, Ryan Day may be kind of at a breaking point with the defense. And we don't know exactly the conversations he's had with Jim Knowles in terms of, when he brought in Jim Knowles, he handed him a big bag with a dollar sign. What else did he do to get Jim Knowles to say yes? Because I would assume that there was a little bit of, and you'll also get to have some kind of say on your assistant coaches, or the types of, you're going to get to tell the assistants what you want to run. Do those assistants have experience running that? Know how to run that? Understand what that is? That may inspire some other changes as well. Because Ryan Day may have some emotional attachment to some of those guys. I'm not aware of Jim Knowles working with any of those guys before. Has Jim Knowles worked with Larry Johnson, Kerry Combs, Matt Barnes? I'm not aware of it. So at that point, it's just like that's just a name placard on the door outside their office. It's not, you don't have a history with those guys, so you may not be as attached to them. So I'm not necessarily saying all of those guys are gone. I'm not necessarily saying any of those individual guys is gone. I'm just saying, I think on the whole, I would trend towards, the number of estimated changes. I think we said 1.5 earlier. I'm trending that number is trending up to me a little bit. And, with Parker Fleming, what is Parker Fleming going to do? Do they decide that they need another defensive assistant? Do they decide that, Parker Fleming can have a different role in the team? Do they decide that the special teams are great this year and they're going to keep them? I mean, that's another kind of open question right now. We don't have the answer to it. So there's going to be change. And I don't think it's just going to be, well, we're bringing in one guy and we're moving out one guy.
I said too, and I was just talking about the defense. I do wonder if the line is like 2.5 and Parker Fleming is kept on staff but loses the full-time assistant, is that considered just a half of a move then? And then that's a push.
Well, then you're bringing in another guy though. So no, that would be another move. And Corey Dennis, does Corey Dennis want to go, does Corey Dennis have an opportunity to go run an offense somewhere and be a coordinator? I mean, that's the other thing. It's not necessarily just guys getting booted for poor performance. Sometimes guys take new jobs because they move up in the world. And, I think there was some speculation about Tony Alford in the Colorado State job. That didn't work out. There was speculation about Kevin Wilson, the Akron job. That didn't work out. But, you do potentially have some upwardly mobile coaches on Ohio State staff as well. Next one from @JannaK183. Is Ohio State working on a long-term deal with Coach Day?
Well, I know Ryan Day signed an extension in February of 2020, a 3-year extension that keeps him at Ohio State through the 2026 season. So that's an extra 5 seasons. And so Wouldn't surprise me to see another 3-year deal at some point coming. You've got to keep up with what Mel Tucker, although I don't know if you have to keep up with what Mel Tucker is making, what all these other guys are making, but you probably do need to give him a boost. You can't, like, I think he's making what, 6.5 million this year. Next year, it's going to be 7.6. Like these, I feel like, I don't want to say that's enough, but it's a lot. And if he's going to be 8 million before too long, 9 million before too long, it's almost the natural progression. But I could see them getting him there a little sooner. But also, it's really difficult to give an Ohio State coach an extension after a loss to Michigan. Can you do it after a win in the Rose Bowl? Maybe, but at this point, he's got 5 years left on the deal. Like, what's the extension for? And no offense meant, but it's like, what are you extending? He's already extended.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. And are you going to respond to the market just because, Mel Tucker's making more money and Ryan Day's a better coach than Mel Tucker? Like, is that a concern? Do you wait a year? I'm sure Ryan Day would like more money. Do you rewrite the contract, or you put in some additional potential bumps where, okay, you beat Michigan, you get another $200,000. You win the Big Ten, you get another $250,000. We talked earlier in the week about the fact that some of the things that may have seemed like absolute givens in the past maybe suddenly don't look like givens anymore. It might seem more like bonus worthy material. Maybe not that you're giving him a Jim Harbaugh contract, but you bump up the bonus structure a little bit where, sure, we will give you more money if you do these things. Like that's a possibility as well. My assumption is there is some kind of a reworked deal at some point. Is he automatically the highest paid coach in the Big Ten? Not necessarily, but obviously he is being sought out in some way by the NFL. So if you want to keep him, and by all indications they want to keep him, it feels like there's going to be something there that's offered up as a way to keep him happy, keep him in place. Because I don't as much as angry message board people might not think so. Like he has been doing a pretty good job so far. He did just lose his literal first Big Ten game ever as a Ohio State head coach in his third season. So it's that's not bad. It's not a home run, but it's just a triple. Last one from @ZMoney87 and then an underscore at the end. Favorite burger. And this is a timely one because we are going out and going to one of the home of one of the great national burger chains or regional burger chains of our nation. We got to do the Whataburger thing down at the Cotton Bowl a few years ago. We did. There was there's Shake Shacks everywhere, but we did Shake Shack last year when we were down in New Orleans. We're going to go out to In-N-Out country this month. Do you have a favorite burger? Because I feel like people get extremely angry about this, and a lot of them are all of the. I'm assuming we're not talking about like steakhouse burgers here. We're talking about kind of like national chain burgers. I feel like, I like a Five Guys burger. Like, I like a Shake Shack burger. Yeah, I like an In-N-Out burger. Like, Whataburger is fine. Like, I don't have a super, super strong regional opinion on this. Do you?
No, and I've had In-N-Out once before. I had it in Phoenix in 2016, I believe. And Whataburger I thought was maybe a little bit better, but I would have to have them side by side. We've got Swenson's here in Columbus now, Polaris. It's a good burger. It's kind of small. Five Guys is fine. I don't like paying that much for a burger, but that's where all of these bougie gourmet burger places are now. Tom, I'm going to go off the reservation on this one. Favorite burger. As a child, my grandma had what was called a Presto burger. And it's an electric fryer that makes one burger at a time. You just put you ball up your hamburger, you put it in there and it fries on both sides. And she would make those for me, and you put a bunch of salt on it and a bunch of ketchup, as you know. And it was a very tasty burger. Was it dry? I don't know. Had ketchup. No, it was not dry because it it wasn't like we were eating ground chuck back in the day. So that's my favorite burger as a child. You can look up the Presto burger. If anybody of you have had experience with Presto burger, you know what I'm talking about. You can get one for $9 used on eBay. There are no new ones. But yeah, I don't have
this is the maker and not the actual sandwich, right?
the no, yeah, it's the maker.
No
yes.
used sandwiches. Okay, good.
Yeah, yes, thank you. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I don't have like this is my favorite burger. I think they're all of the same ilk. They're all good, and so like I don't want to be like I'm not violent like other people tend to be. Like Whataburger is trash, Chipotle is trash, this is trash, that's trash. I'm like they're all pretty good. I like them. I like them better when I can expense them.
The very best kind of burger. Yeah, I my thoughts on In and Out are it's I like it. I don't particularly care for the fries. I will generally do the burger and fries animal style, which is chopped onions and then sauce on those. So that's a good way to kind of spice it up because I don't care for the real thin fries. That's one of the In and Out the weaknesses of In and Out. The burger itself, the shakes are always very good. The fries really kind of take it down a notch. But yeah, I don't have one that is like head and shoulders above all of the others. Like honestly, the thing I remember most about Whataburger was spicy ketchup. I was like, that was a little different. Like, yeah, but other than that, it was like, yeah, it was just a burger. It was fine, and I mean, like, yeah, it's fine. But yeah, I am probably not going to get into a fist fight over hamburgers at any point. But hey, we haven't made the trip yet.
Yeah. What if somebody says a Juicy Lucy is overrated?
Well, okay. So if we're talking about that is probably the best hamburger or best/most unique hamburger that I can remember. That was the one we did a Scoop Eat segment on in Minnesota. And if you're wondering what he's talking about, that was at Matt's Bar in St. Paul or Minneapolis. One of those. Yep. They're right next to each other. Just drive around until you find it. It is, yeah, that was the cheese is like melted inside. It's basically like a stuffed crust pizza, but with a burger and the cheese is melted inside. It was pretty delightful. So, if we're going for like one-off places, I guess that's my pick. But yeah, as far as the chains, like, yeah, I mean, they're fine. It's all good.
Chains should do Juicy Lucy's. I'm just going to throw that out there. Now, in school, did you have the pizza burger, which was like the mozzarella inside the hamburger patty? Did you have that in your fancy school learning out east?
No.
Yeah, we did.
I've never. Wow. That's that feels like. Well, here's my thing. It feels like if that was as good as it sounded, someone would have picked that up by now. Like if that was school lunch, like that feels like that would have gotten outside of Henry County.
Well, and now that I'm thinking about it, it actually wasn't school lunch because pizza burgers. It was at the restaurant my mom worked at. We had that was their pizza burger. It was came frozen from all of the places where you buy all of this food. The pizza burgers at school were two of the bottom buns of buns, sandwich buns, with like a ground hamburger, some pizza sauce, and then 2 slices of mozzarella cheese, toasted. Also very good. Mm-hmm. But those were the pizza burgers back in school.
All right. Well, then there you go. So you. That's not bad. That's intriguing enough. I feel like there's still a lot of work to be done in the hamburger, the hamburger world. I feel like I might need to next grilling season. Not that grilling season ever ends. Sorry, didn't mean to say that. I literally grilled 2 days ago. But next summer, I feel like I need to start exploring the cheese-filled burger space because it feels like that's a real opportunity for a difference-making hamburger.
Yeah, and you can get burgers now with cheese in it, but it's not different because it's all ground in there. It's like no.
Right? Yes, yeah.
You need a cheese,
a cheese core, not just cheese mixed in there. Yes,
yeah, absolutely. That will then do it for this episode, this final episode of these listener questions of the Buckeye Weekly podcast. Again, want to thank everybody for your questions. Thank you for submissions. Hope you guys are having a wonderful holiday, taking it easy. Just really want to thank everybody. This time of giving, you have given us so much. So thank you for that. And we will talk to you guys later.